3 in 16,000. Do these odds seem probable to you? The World Nuclear Association says there have been 3 major meltdowns in 16,000 cumulative reactor years of reactors being in process. The world's on the verge of an energy crisis. Fossil fuels are rapidly depleting, and we need something to replace them, or we're going to be hurting. Nuclear power is simple and it's safe. I will be affected by this in my lifetime firsthand because this energy crisis is going down within the next 50 years. I took it upon myself to get a better understanding of this process because I will have firsthand experience with it. My main points is going to be how nuclear power works, how it's safe, and how the statistics I just gave you about the meltdowns actually lie. So we see in the first nuclear weapons are used in World War II, the very end. In the midst of the Cold War, this technology, everybody's excited about it, they're trying to learn more. Then in the 70s, war in the Middle East causes oil prices to go sky high. Now everyone's panicking, they're trying to find cheap energy, so nuclear power plants pop up all over the place. Merriam-Webster defines fission as the nucleus of a heavy atom splitting. Fission is what runs nuclear power plants. Just like in a nuclear bomb, when fission begins, a neutron hits the uranium-235 and splits apart the atom. When the atom splits, it gives off heat in the form of radiation. So to control this from just going crazy like we see in a nuclear bomb, nuclear power plants have control rods. They sit down in their reactor cores that absorb the excess nucleus or neutrons so that these atoms just don't go splitting everywhere and be uncontrollable in a chain reaction. There are 2 major types of nuclear power plants that we use today. So says the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. The first type is pressurized water reactors, or PWRs. They run in 2 systems. You have your reactor core here, where when your reaction is going on, it's heating the water. You have a pressurizer here that pressurizes the system so the water can't boil. It just gets extremely hot and is circulated through this system. The other system you have a reservoir tank here of water. When this hot pipe runs through it, it generates steam, which turns a turbine, which runs a generator, which gives us power. Once the steam goes over the turbine, it goes into a condenser and is pumped back into the reservoir. The other type, the more common type of nuclear power plants, is the BWR, or boiling water reactor. And it's just one system. You have your fusion core right here, your reactor core. And as it's heated up, water boils, steam is created, which pushes the turbine, goes in the condenser, and the pump pushes it back in. So it's one closed system. For fear of meltdown, there's really only 2 ways you can have a meltdown. When you're dealing with high temperatures, something can break, pipes can break, but there are backups that'll stop the reaction from running away if these were to happen. Everyone's fear is having the reactor core melt down or just go haywire. The only way this can happen is if 3 things happen. The control rods that I mentioned earlier aren't working or are removed. The primary defense, which is just the coolant water, which keeps the reaction cool while still producing steam. It goes to the turbine, gets compromised somehow. And the third thing is the backup generators. Backup generators are there to flood the system if anything goes wrong. That way this reaction doesn't go haywire. There's really only been 50 confirmed deaths, says Richard Rode, a person who did a writing over the Chernobyl accident. There were no spikes in cancer deaths or anything after this reaction. So really the only death tolls from this power is 50. The stats that I gave you at the beginning of my speech, the 3 in 16,000, really lie. There's really only been one meltdown, the 3 Mile Island incident, that was really a meltdown. The Chernobyl accident was caused completely by human error. They were trying to run a test on their system, and because of an increased power demand for the day, their test got pushed back till late. And then when they started running the plant, it wasn't putting out enough power, so they started removing control rods. They ended up removing 200 out of, I believe, 250. And they turned off their electrical backups in an attempt to boost the power they were using. Well, later on in the night, there was a power surge, and the system went haywire. When they went to replace the control rods, they had graphite tips on them. Well, this sparked an explosion, and the reactor, as we know, had a meltdown, and the city became uninhabitable. Fukushima is the second meltdown that's not really accurate. We all know this happened just a few years ago when an earthquake off the shore of Japan sent a ginormous tsunami towards the island. When this tsunami hit, it not only took out the first defense of the coolant water going and keeping the reactor going, but it also took out the backup generators, little did we know. And without these, our second line and last line of defense against the meltdown was gone. So really, that's a fluke instance. How often is a tsunami going to hit all of our nuclear plants and cause meltdowns? In conclusion, I've talked to you about how nuclear power works, how it is safe, and how the statistics I gave you at the beginning lie. Nuclear power is simple and it's safe, and I've hoped you gained a better understanding of how this process works from my speech. Thank you.